average client is a woman. Generally, women live longer than men these days. But we have plenty of men as well, obviously. So we help people of all ages. The majority of our programs focus on folks 65 and older, or 60 and older. Usually they have a moderate to level or to severe level of disability and one or more chronic health condition. And they need help with two or more ADLs or IADLs. We have varying socioeconomic backgrounds amongst our clients, but generally they're low to moderate income. Some of them have support, 24/7, spouse giving care to them, but the spouse might have, other responsibilities. They might have to leave occasionally to go grocery shopping or to visit somewhere or somebody. And other people might not have any support at all. So we have a wide range of support for our clients. Some folks just can't, they're homebound, they're not able to get out of their home as well. So what help is available? This kind of just gives you a quick little graphic that shows the eligibility factors in most of our programs. So what help is available in our area depends on where you live, because our services are offered generally by county. So there are programs that we have here that may not be available, or services that may not be available in Butler County, even though we are the AAA in Butler County. But Hamilton County is a good place to live if you're looking for our services. So the first one is income. We do administer state Medicaid waiver programs. So if you've ever heard of Passport, that's the big one. And those have an income qualification. So you would have to, income and asset qualification, so you would have to qualify for Medicaid. But we also have the Elderly Services Program here, which is the program that's funded by the Senior Services Levy. We just renewed that levy in 2017, so we're kind of in the middle of that period right now. So that program is not income-based. So there's no income requirement, monthly income requirement. Somebody who has a higher income maybe has to make a co-pay to help pay for the care. But some folks, depending on their assets and their medical expenses, may not have to pay a thing for their services. Level of care is always a big thing with our programs. Generally, people need help with at least 2 ADLs or IADLs. And that's always determined, because the services are going to be provided at home, it's always determined by somebody going into the home and doing an assessment of what help is needed. And then age, of course, that's a little more straightforward, but our niche is the older adult population, but of course we do have programs for folks younger as well. That's Terry, one of our clients. So I'm going to talk a little bit, maybe a lot, about Hamilton County and the levy. We are very, very lucky here. I don't know if any of you saw, what year was that? 2014 PBS came here to film part of a special. It was called Caring for Mom and Dad, and they featured the Elderly Services Program because it is so unique in this country. So we're lucky to have that as a safety net here for folks. The first levy passed in 1992. The most recent levy passed in 2017 by 72% of voters, and was actually an increase. And then this levy is a 1.6 mil 5-year levy, which expires in 2022. I thought it was 4-year levy. I stand corrected. It raises about almost $26 million per year. All the money raised through the levy has to go to services for older adults. Hamilton County Commissioners determine what percentage of that money goes to us and what percentages goes to other organizations in Hamilton County. But again, it has to be a program that serves older adults. So what it does is it saves taxpayer money by keeping people out of nursing homes and off Medicaid. There's a stat that we like to use. I don't think it's in this deck, but it's about $4,000 a month for somebody to live in a nursing home supported by Medicaid. One of our programs, it's usually $400 a month and under. So you can see the savings there. It's taxpayer funded, but I mean, it's just so much more economical. Oh, another quiz. Anybody have any idea what the senior services levy here in Hamilton County costs property owners? Say per $100,000 of property value.
$17. $5.
All right, let's see, because I can't remember the exact answer to this. $40.25 per $100,000 of property value, which, when you look at your tax bill, your property tax bill, it really makes up just about 1% of the bill. So it's really, we feel, really quite a value in everything that the program does for our local seniors. So the program that we've skirted on here, that is supported by the Elderly Services Levy, or the Senior Services Levy, is called the Elderly Services Program. Of course, it's taxpayer funded. Property taxes provides in-home long-term care for Hamilton County seniors who do not qualify for Medicaid. So what this does, what ESP does, is it kind of fills that niche there between folks who have a little more income and assets and a little more ability to pay for things through another source or out of pocket, and then folks who qualify for Medicare. So you have that wedge in the middle there of folks who don't qualify for Medicaid, but by no means are well off or wealthy. So this really kind of provides that service to them. Now again, it's not income based, so anybody of any income can potentially qualify to participate in the program. There are similar programs in Butler, Clinton, and Warren counties, so they all have their own levies. We help with the next one we have coming up is Butler County is next year. They all have elderly services programs. The services that are provided through the programs can vary by county. It's driven by county commissioners. And then Claremont County actually does have a levy, but it's run through their senior services, Claremont Senior Services. At Council on Aging, we manage the AAA mandated programs for Claremont County, but they handle their own ESP program at Claremont Senior Services. So, what are the benefits of this levy besides the obvious? Keep seniors connected to communities they call home. I think AARP's stat, most recent stat, was like 79% of older adults prefer to stay at home if they can. Helps long-married spouses stay together. So, people can stay at home. You wouldn't want to leave your spouse if you didn't have to. Well, many of us. It helps families. Depends on the day. I love my spouse. It helps families, so sons and daughters juggling jobs. So this is the picture there is Anita Logston. She is, her dad is a client of the Elderly Services Program, and she has children, and she has a job, and she has a husband. And her dad, her parents came to live with her, and she was taking care of them at first without help, and then he started to, his dementia progressed, and he became a client of ours, and he goes to adult day during the day, so she and her husband can work. Anyhow, it's just been a real lifesaver for that family. People have their own kids, their own jobs, things that they have to do. So ESP was able to fill in where the caregivers couldn't. It also really helps the business community. This is something that we're really trying to explain to the business community and get out there. Is that if you're, and I was this last year. I was providing care for my mother out of town last year, and thank goodness I work for Council on Aging, where they were understanding and said you do whatever you need to do to take care of your mom. But some places, they just don't have that flexibility. So we're trying to educate these businesses here in town that this program can really help you keep your workers productive, because they'll be here. They won't have to be on the phone, when they're at work trying to deal with this, because they'll have the help at home. Somebody will be taking care of their parent, whatever. The other thing that's important for everybody to understand is that there would be no program without the levy. It's the major funding source for the levy. So we always try to push that point when we're out getting into a new levy cycle and we're out talking to folks. We just want to make sure people understand that if the levy goes, the program goes. This is just a list of the services that are provided through ESP. So you can see personal care, meals, homemaker services, adult day, companion service. I mean, I won't read the whole list to you, but there are a lot of things that can help families and help our clients remain at home. One of the things I like to point out is the care management aspect of this. I mentioned earlier, I think that every client is assigned a care manager, and our care managers are all RNs and licensed social workers, and they will stay with that client throughout the time that they're with Council on Aging, and they will make sure that they're getting the services they need at the right time and the right amount. So it can fluctuate over time. So you have that person who's in charge of your overall basic package of services. To be eligible for ESP in Hamilton County, you have to be at least 60. A few of our other counties, I believe, at 65. You need help with certain ADLs. Like I mentioned, there's no income qualification, so you can have a healthy income and still qualify. You might be asked to pay a copay. It is a payer of last resort, so if your health insurance is going to pay for something, ESP will not cover it. There are certain things that I keep hearing, like there's a certain piece of bathroom equipment that seems that nobody can get covered, that we cover a lot. I can't remember, some bar or something. And then the person who is going to be receiving the services, the assessment has to happen at home to really, for the assessor to really see what's going on and to be able to provide the right services. And of course, it's also meant to supplement care provided already by caregivers, which usually is a family. It's not meant to be a 24/7 service to be a 24/7 caregiver for somebody. This is the program. This is very innovative program actually. This is the one that's called Fast Track Home. It's actually part of ESP, so it's funded through the Senior Services Levy. This is the program that's been around for about 3 years now, that helps folks transition from hospitals to nursing homes to home successfully. So basically it brings the benefit of the levy to more county residents, which is when they really, really need it is as they're leaving the hospital. So it provides temporary, essential in-home services, like meals, personal care, transportation, and homemaking. So there's no cost to clients, to patients for the first 60 days. So some folks will be on it the full 60 days, some folks maybe 30 days. If it's within that 60-day window, no cost to the client. If they still need services after 60 days, they'll be assessed for transition to the whole ESP program. So it's really great. I don't know how many stats on here, but it's really the return to hospital rate compared to the national average is like half. So it's been really successful. So we actually have, it started in Clinton County. It was a pilot program at Clinton Memorial Hospital, and it did so well that we got into Hamilton County, and UC Christ and Jewish. And at those facilities, we actually have a Council on Aging employee there who will go and visit. She's kind of part of the social work staff. She goes and does an assessment bedside. So the assessment does not have to be done at somebody's home. It can be if we don't catch somebody before they leave the hospital. Sometimes that happens. But we actually do this bedside assessment, and then if somebody qualifies, then we can get services set up rather quickly. And we also are working to get into other hospitals. Basically, if you're in Hamilton or Clinton County and you're in a nursing home, we've got folks who are dedicated to nursing homes to assess people to go home as well. So anywhere in Hamilton County, you can be eligible for the program, but we actually have employees stationed at the 3 hospitals. And we are looking to expand to other counties and to other hospitals, have our employees in these places, but the program is still fairly young. Okay. Okay, this is a list of, well, it's a little bit reversed, but I'm going to talk now about our Medicaid in-home long-term care programs. So I mentioned Passport earlier. There are a few others for the younger population. The care needed, or the care needed on these programs typically is a little bit more heavy duty. Folks who are on these programs tend to be a little more disabled, and there are some nursing services that can be provided as well. Unlike ESP, ESP doesn't include medical services. You can see the big old list there. It's pretty much everything that ESP provides, plus some physical therapy and speech therapies and nursing services. Okay, these are really the other options for care outside of ESP that we provide. Actually, we don't provide all of these. These are just general options for long-term care services outside of ESP. The top box there is if you're eligible for Medicaid. Those are 4 programs that we administer. They're state programs. Passport, Assisted Living Waiver, Ohio Home Care Waiver, and My Care Ohio. And then there are other programs and supports. We do run a few programs called, one's Community Transitions, and the other's Home Choice. Those help transition folks out of nursing homes who, they're typically younger. They're folks who maybe had an accident and there's nobody to care for them and they're just kind of stuck in a nursing home. And we help get them out and get them set up with a place to live and all the services they need. Healthy U is our education program for chronic disease self-management and for fall prevention. We actually have classes that are free, workshops that we offer throughout the Hamilton County area, usually in churches or community centers. They're really great programs. They're both evidence-based, so it's something to look into. Of course, caregiver support and education. Now, anything, I don't know if you can tell that the things I've already mentioned are bold-faced up there. The things that are not bold-faced are things that we do not get involved in, but they are other ways that somebody could potentially pay for long-term care services, and that's, of course, private pay. The VA has some benefits for long-term care and home long-term care. Of course, there's long-term care insurance, and then hospice also provides some services as well. This is a snapshot of our Medicaid and home care options. Just some of the highlights. Passport is the big one. That's for older adults, 60 and up. It's in-home, requires physician approval. The assisted living waiver actually is for folks of all ages, well, adults, but younger adults as well. That's provided in a facility. So there are nursing facilities, long-term care facilities throughout the state that have a certain number of rooms, set number of apartments set aside for folks who are on this program. There aren't really nearly enough of them, and I believe that some advocacy groups here in Ohio are pushing to get more of those rooms released for folks in this program. My Care Ohio is managed care for folks who are eligible for Medicare and Medicaid. We get involved at different levels, not as deeply as with the other programs when somebody's in My Care Ohio. Here in Southwestern Ohio, the managed care organizations we work with are Molina and Aetna. And then there's the Ohio Home Care Waiver, which is basically Passport for folks 59 and under, all the way through infants. And that provides, of course, in-home care. I know we did a profile on a little 3-year-old boy who needed respirator. He needed help breathing 24/7. He needed a nurse, and he was on that program. So it's a wide variety. If you were curious, the weekly or the monthly Medicaid income is $2313. That's for this year, and then somebody cannot have assets of more than $2,000. That doesn't include a home or car. So we always like to just to drive home to folks that to get services from us, say for our education services or some of our meals, somebody needs to be enrolled in one of our programs. We don't just a la carte, wheelchair ramps. But we can, if somebody would call us and say, I have this need, I need a wheelchair ramp built, or I have this issue, and I don't know where to go, but they wouldn't qualify for one of our programs. We also refer out to organizations throughout our area. So we are connected to basically anything you could potentially need. So somebody to enroll in one of our programs, you'd have to meet eligibility criteria, need help with those ADLs, you have to be enrolled, and then you have to be eligible for specific services that were determined by the assessment, the person who did the assessment. Here's some of our other programs. I've mentioned the home delivered meals and congregate meals. The picture up there is one of our congregate meal sites in Butler County. We have this great, I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Pro Seniors. I've got it in here. They're a wonderful resource for folks 60 and older in Ohio. They have a legal hotline that's free. They receive funding through Council on Aging. I know several of the people over there, they're great. They know their stuff, and they're a great resource if you have legal questions. Of course, our fall prevention and disease management classes. If you are online, you can go to our website at helpforseniors.org, and you can find the calendar of those classes if you're interested. And of course, our caregiver support program. We have this wonderful nurse named Anna who runs that program, and she goes out and meets with caregivers and provides what support they need. Okay, a little bit about referral and enrollment. What if you think that you could use services from Council on Aging, or somebody you know, maybe your parents or a neighbor, a friend from church? We always tell people, we talk about eligibility, you have to need help with so many ADLs, you have to be this age, but we really don't want people to get bogged down in those details. You don't have to memorize all that stuff. Just call us, and we'll talk to you about it, and we'll figure out, is this person potentially eligible for Medicaid? That'll send us down that route, and then if they're not, send us down the other route. We'll do a quick phone screening, and we can talk to you about what options might be potentially available for a person. But we do have to meet with the potential client in the home, other than our transition programs. You can also call and request an options visit, where it's a long-term care consultation, so somebody would meet with you and you can learn about your options for long-term care. You also can make a referral on another person's behalf. So you can call about a parent or a friend. We also have a referral form on our website that you can fill out. Typically you probably want to tell them you're doing it, but you don't have to. When we tell people, just get the people to us and we'll take care of the rest. We have the folks in our intake area are wonderful. Our social workers are very skilled, and many of them very, very experienced. They're very good at convincing people that, that we can help them. But we can't force people to accept our help either. So you never know which way it's going to go. So enrollment would start with a phone call, or of course the referral form filled out on the website. Our call center staff will do the screening, and then if it progresses, there would be the in-home assessment. If it progresses beyond that, a care manager is assigned, and then a care plan is developed, which would state, what kind of services and how much and how often they're going to get. And then, if need be, we will connect to other programs in the community that might be able to provide services as well. Hot to reach us. Where's the typo?
They're really
If you're hot to reach us, you can call us at, by phone, of course. If you call, we have an 800 number and a 513 local number. You would select option 2. That'll get you to the call center or intake, ADRC, whatever you want to call it. It'll get you to where you need to be. They are there Monday through Friday, 7 to 6. Of course, you can go online anytime and go to our form and fill it out. It may look really big and intimidating, but there really is just a limited amount of required information. But of course, we like to get as much information as possible if we can. Of course, that's available anytime, 24/7, and again, you can make a referral on somebody else's behalf as well. I'm getting done. I'm getting close to being done. Hang with me here. So here's our ADRC. It's one of our staff who's been there forever. All of our, I think it's mostly women there, are certified information referral specialists. They all have letters after their names. I'm not sure what those are. Everything that we provide to you, the information is unbiased. And and nobody's, again, paying you for us to give their information out, their name and number out. It doesn't have to be, questions don't have to be about our programs. They can be about anything, Medicare related, housing, senior housing, applying for benefits, anything. Just call these ladies and they'll help you out. And there's our website, helpforseniors.org, the number 4. You can go on our website. Instead of calling our call center, we have a resource directory that you can search. It's got over 1,600 listings in there, community organizations, places where you can exercise, housing, legal services, anything you can imagine. The website also, so you of course can make a referral there. We've got the directory. You can print the directory. Once you get search results, you can say, I want to print this, this, and this, and it'll save it as a PDF, and then you can just print it off and have that paper with you. We have a great quarterly newsletter that keeps people up to date on, what's going on with us and what's going on in the aging industry. You can sign up there for that. And then, of course, we're on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, so we encourage you to follow us if you're interested. And that is it. Again, I'm Ann Sells. I did want to mention, if you would like to have this presentation, there's the link there. If you would like to jot it down, you can go there and download it, and download the entire presentation so you have the information. Does anybody have any questions?
Where's the mic? Over there.
There's another mic up front also.
I have 2 questions. In the beginning, when you talked about the statistics and the seniors becoming a greater percentage, could you tell me why that's happening? Is it because our birth rate's going down or people are moving away?
I think it's mostly the baby boomers are getting to that age now, where I think it is that the first wave of baby boomers are hitting 60 now, 60-ish, I think is what it is, mostly.
No, they're 70. They're 70, they're 72, that first one.
The second question was if you could explain a little bit about what the Ohio Department of Aging passes on down in relation to their regulations.
So Ohio Department of Aging, we work with them on a number of things that they're in charge of. Obviously, advocacy for older adults. We work with Ohio Department of Aging and the Ohio Insurance Department as well on the Medicaid programs. Passport and the others, those are all state programs. There are a number of other programs. For example, we have a program that we administer here, or we actually help people apply for. It's called HEAP. It's a Home Energy Assistance Program. That's another example of something that comes from Ohio Department of Aging that is basically pushed to us to implement in our area. Does that answer your question? Yes. Oh, sorry.
With a microphone.
Yeah. Hello.
It's not on.
Now it's
There
on.
we go. Yeah, I'm curious about the interplay between long-term care insurance and your services. In other words, I was under the impression, I've never used long-term care insurance. I mean, I have it, but I've never used it.
That's a good thing.
That they just give you money, but they don't do anything for you. So is yours the social service aspect of it? But you would have to go through, you utilize that money first before you get into one of your programs?
Right, so I'm not an expert on the long-term care policies and what they offer, but our programs are definitely, they would be a payer of last resort, so anything that wasn't covered by your insurance policy would potentially be covered by one of our programs. You would have to need services, obviously, to qualify for a program as well. And I would guess those services would be, we do see people that live in assisted living facilities and things like that, or adult communities. We have a lot of clients in those areas. But our care managers are also very good at understanding where somebody's policy might cover something and then where we could pick up. I would say, like in your specific instance, I would call our call center and explain I tell this to everybody, call our call center and explain, you know, this is what I have, would I ever qualify for help from Council on Aging? If it's, just because there's so many specific instances of, you know, people have insurance or, you know, different situations. But did that answer your question?
I think so, because basically you're offering, how long does it take to get, once you contact the place, if you want somebody to come out?
Sure, it depends on the program. I'm sure it won't surprise you that the state programs take longer because if you're not already qualified for Medicaid, you have to go through that process.
Well, I mean, let's just talk about ESP.
ESP is, they try to have somebody out within 2 weeks is what their goal is. So I'd say within a month, if somebody qualifies, that they could start getting services. So it's fairly quick, it's not immediate because,
Yeah,
you have
how
to
many
assess.
people do you have, you know, that are offering these? How many people work for you in this capacity?
Gosh. People doing assessments, maybe 15. We have an assessment team. It's very complicated. But for
But not-
specifically
but not-
for ESP, maybe 8. And, you know, it's all a balance of, you know, budget, basically. In fact, before we passed, we actually had the increase in the levy this last time. Before that, we had a waiting list for services. And now that we have, we passed the increase in the levy, we've been able to add more staff and service more older adults to the program as well.
Because a lot of people have surgery at the last minute kind of thing.
Mhm.
If they need services, how quickly could they get them?
Oh, well, if they were leaving the hospital, that would be a fast track home situation if they're in Hamilton County. You can call if you know of somebody. You could call our call center and say this is, you can make a referral. We have on our form a place where you can say somebody's in the hospital. And then we would know, okay, this is a person who could potentially need services as they're coming home from the hospital. So that's very specifically if they're coming from the hospital would be, we would look at them, at fast track home for them. And then after 60 days, if they still needed services, then we look at ESP. You're welcome.
May I ask you, this is good information, I'm glad to have it all, as someone who's in her 80s, and may or may not want to stay in my house, but we're taxpayers after all. And do you work with companies that want to provide services for their profits?
Well, our service providers definitely are for-profit organizations. So we have home health care agencies. We do have a whole provider
Okay.
services department. People all have to. I don't know the exact process, but everybody has to bid. The things that they have to, the guidelines for our service providers are set by the programs, by the county commissioners. So there are guidelines. We don't just give the contract to somebody just because they say they want it. They have to go through a very rigorous process.
Well, still, you know, we're paying taxes. Oh my gosh. So how much of your service is performed by profit businesses, would you say? I mean, if somebody comes to my house and helps me with a certain thing, I mean, can I feel that they are making money off my taxes?
They're definitely making money because they are for-profit organizations.
Yeah.
But you know, and again, like I said, we can't award a contract to somebody because he's like, you know, our CEO's cousin. I mean, there are definitely strict guidelines that people have to fulfill. And we do have a whole department that works with these folks. And we make sure that we do surveys of our clients. They have to, you know, hit a certain quality index. So there are things, we do monitor them, but yes, they're for profit. Most of them, I don't think all of them are.
Has that become widely known to the people passing these levies, that they're going to be the tax money we support are going perhaps largely to private business.
It's not something that we, go out and tell people and like shout from the mountains because, it's just, if we were going to provide the wide range of services that we provide, we have to engage with for-profit organizations.
All right, well, there needs to be a careful consideration of all that, I should think, by taxpayers.
Get on the board.
They're definitely, it's not something that we hide, it's all there, it's open information, but we couldn't possibly offer all the services that we offer if we only went with nonprofit organizations.
Go ahead.
Arlene.
Sorry.
It's on. It's on. Well, now it's on. Now it's on.
My mind is all over the place because I have several questions, but I'll limit it to one. Do you have some tips on opening up a productive conversation with parents about what they want to do, what their wishes are for care, and the reality for me is that I have a parent who needs some assistance that I can't provide, but don't tell him that,
Right.
because he will say, oh, I'm fine, I'm perfectly independent, I can take care of myself.
That's very common.
But I feel like he needs to have that conversation, and I don't know how to open it up in a way that will actually benefit both of us.
Right, that you won't get shut down immediately.
Yes.
Well, we do tell people, I do, if you're interested in giving me your email address, or I can email it to Dot. There are tip sheets out there, and we have one that have information about that type of thing, having that conversation. But we do commonly tell people that it's going to take more than, in a lot of cases, more than one conversation. So somebody may not be receptive at first. My mom's a prime example. She's, almost 80 years old, but she thinks she's 30. And then she had some health problems, and she...
Excuse me.
You too. But after having health, she didn't need help, really. But after having some health issues last year, it still took her a long time to realize, I cannot do this on my own, and my kids are out of town, and they have kids, and she finally just now has said to us, I think I could use some help. It's taken her a while, unfortunately, and a lot of pain through, for all of us. But I'd be happy to send a sheet, like a fact sheet about that to maybe Dot. I have Dot's email, and she can send it out to the group if you're all interested. Or I can get your personal email if you'd like as well and send it to you.
There's a website called something like Conversations of a Lifetime. It gives you a lot of guidance.
Yes, there are a ton of caregiving websites out there, and yes, lots of resources online about having those conversations about long-term care. Really, anything you can imagine is out there. Yes.
I'd just like to mention on every table there are brochures about the Elderly Services Program and the Council on Aging. They may be in a little stack, so look for it on your table. 2 quick questions. One of them is, you said that the requirements were that you be 60 or over, but somewhere else it said there was no age requirement for something, and it confused me as to what that meant.
So it's the best way to describe it is all of our programs are different, and it depends on what county you live in. So if we talk specifically about the Elderly Services Program, the one that's funded by the levy, in Hamilton County, you have to be at least 60 to qualify for that program. Now, if you were in, I believe it's Butler and Warren County, they also have similar programs, ESP programs. I believe you have to be 65 in those counties. And then our Medicaid programs, passport, you have to be 60. And then we have, it's very confusing, then we have the Ohio Home Care Waiver, you can be an infant up to 59. So age usually is always a factor in everyone, it actually is a factor in every one of our programs. It just depends on what program and what county you're in. It's as clear as mud.
Do you remember what the particular thing that said no age requirement referred to?
The home care waiver. Home care waiver.
It was the home care waiver?
Yeah, the home care waiver is definitely, that's the one where it can be infants all the way up to passport age, which is 60. So it's basically the passport for the younger, under 60 group.
And the other quick question is, you have 11 of the area groups, is that right? Did I get that number right?
Oh, 8 AAAs?
Yeah,
There are 12 in Ohio, including us.
12 AAAs. How did you determine the boundaries for that? Because I was looking at the map and I thought, that makes so much more sense than looking at the districting maps, political districting maps.
Well, we
And-
gerrymandered them.
Yeah. And I was thinking maybe your criteria is such a good one that it could be given to the districts.
Ohio legislature.
I'm gonna guess when, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm gonna guess when, was it 1974? When the, no, it was when the, 65, when the Older Americans Act was probably 74, because that's when we were founded. I'm sure it was a government thing, trying to get back there it is. I do understand that the Cleveland, Akron area, what used to be 1, and then that was, in like recent history, was divided into 2 because it was just too much population. But I cannot say exactly how the counties were divided
So
up.
it's likely population
Sure,
driven.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, yeah, because you typically only have one really major metro in each AAA area now. And then some you don't have any really major metros. But more counties, more rural counties.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Peter. And after one.
You want to take it to Peter?
It's coming, Peter.
I was just going to respond to Marlena's question. For those of you who are concerned, whose need is it that your aging adult get care? It's yours. So if you ask them to do you a favor, it's do me a favor, help me out here. That often works.
That's a good one.
Did you follow that?
Last question.
Goes to Peter.
I was wondering if among your various services, is there any physical therapy or nutrition advice? Because so many people who develop incapacities are simply from lack of movement and from a lousy diet.
That's true. That's true.
Through some of our programs, yes, there are nutrition services provided. Of course, somebody would have to qualify for the program itself. There is physical therapy available through the Medicaid programs, but not through the Elderly Services Program. I will say that our meals programs will provide diabetic-friendly meals. Somebody needs I think we're just starting this out, a gluten-free meal, vegetarian meals. All of the meals are supposed to be nutritionally balanced. We're actually going through a process right now of assessing. We've got an RFP out for service providers for meals, and they have to meet certain nutritional requirements in order to work with us. So they're nutritionally balanced meals. We also have the workshops for, we have a diabetes self-management workshop specifically that addresses nutrition. It's a really great workshop. And then the other one we have is just generally for general chronic diseases as well. So they talk about diet, exercise, how to manage your numbers when you have diabetes. But you're right. You're right. I think it is let's see. Trying to find the services that ESP offers. Meals. Yeah, not so much with ESP, but with the Medicaid programs, they're a little more heavy duty and do offer PT and things like that.
It says special diets can be accommodated with a doctor's order for the home meals.
Yes. Yes, so that would be like your gluten-free meal or your diabetic meal.
And sales, wonderful presentation, thank you. You've really done an outstanding job. Boy, you've really gotten me interested in this program because we are 3 in my household. We are age 72, 74, and 80. We qualify.
Okay, guys, facts of life. We have this room until 1:30. We must be out by 1:30. So, I think we're gonna need to delay our discussion about lunches until maybe the next time. But we do need to gather everything, clean up everything. We've got recycling and garbage over here, if you would help us with that. I will bring out the Clorox wipes for you to wipe down your table. I would appreciate you doing that. And I also have the order forms here for lunches. If you want them, just leave them there or email me. Thank you.
Is Patricia here? Is Patricia here?
Patricia, is at the door?
Yes, Patricia. They are our hosts today from the church, and they let me in, and my brother and Katie and everybody else who wanted to move tables and set up chairs and stuff. So we want to thank them. That was really nice of them to kind of get us ready to get to go. Let's see. I'm Alberta Hemsley, and this is the Greater Cincinnati Democrats, and we have a wonderful program for you today. Our program is going to be Ann Sales, who's going to be talking about the Council on Aging.
Boy, I need
None of
that.
us would know about that. Anybody, do we have any youngsters here? We don't have our 2-year-old here. Where is he? Okay. well,
Summer
he-
vacation.
He's on vacation. He's still on summer vacation. So that's not gonna happen. Okay, so, here we are. I have one announcement, and that announcement is about, Saturday, this coming Saturday, and there's a couple of these papers on the table. If you're interested in finding, it says, 103 William Howard Taft, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please join us this Saturday at the Public Library in downtown Cincinnati for a tour and discussion of library finances. While a source of civic pride, the Cincinnati Hamilton County Library System has been a source of controversy. In 2017, a proposal to sell the building was met with public outrage. The library is managed by a board of trustees consisting of 7 members, 4 appointed by the Hamilton County Commissioners, and 3 by judges of the Common Pleas Court. The board dropped the proposal and sought a property tax in 2018, which voters passed by a large margin. There we go. We've been supporting our library. This year, Cincinnati starred in a movie called The Public, starring Emilio Estevez, which highlighted the role of modern public libraries as spaces for all, including the homeless. Meet League of Women Voters co-president Elizabeth Brown at the Atrium and Central Library at 10:30 this Saturday to join the tour. Please let us know by emailing or calling the League of Women Voters office if you plan on attending. That sounds like a really nice thing. Yeah, there you go. It always conflicts with the rest of my life. The rest of my life on this coming Saturday is going to be at the Montgomery Inn, where they're going to have the Bastille Day, and my orchestra plays at 12 noon, and I have to be there at 11:30, so with all seated and regular on all my gear and stuff, and so I have to be at this concert at noon on Saturday, so I can't go to the library. So I can't help you go to the library, but if you should, there it is. But if you want to come to the Bastille Day, there's really good food all along the way in Montgomery and, what is it, Cooper?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just an outdoor, fun thing. I have to tell you, it tends to get hot. It's just one of those things. They do have cold beer, and they often give us a ticket, and sometimes the ticket is for a beer. And that's too bad because I can't drink, so there you go. Okay, so here we are. Other announcements.
Right here. Let me do it so I can.
Here's Katie.
A few housekeeping things to begin with. Just put this in your mind right now. At the end of this, we're going to have a discussion. Just a short discussion. I want you to think about this as you're sitting here. We have changed from being at a restaurant where you could get a buffet lunch, and now we are ordering lunches, if you choose, or brown bagging your own. Think about how you want this to continue. because it's extra work on my part. I don't mind doing that, it has not been that difficult. But I want you to think about whether this is the way we want to continue, whether there are other options. We are committed to Sister Judy through the month of July at Venice on Vine. After that, starting in August, think about what you think we should do in the future. Okay, so that's one. 2 weeks from today, July 23rd, there's going to be a children's camp here. So this room is not available. So on July 23rd, we will be at St. John's United Church on Reeser Avenue in Clifton. Isn't it United? Unitarian, I'm sorry, apologize. St. John's Unitarian on Reeser. And we're gonna have John Schreider from Legal Aid, but he has to do something, and he's being replaced by Stephanie Mose, who is also with Legal Aid, and we'll talk about the same topic, which is the crisis in affordable housing. So, get in your brain, 2 weeks from today, we will be at St. John's on Reeser in Clifton. There's plenty of parking in the back of the church, but if that fills up, Fairview Clifton German Language School's parking lot is right behind there, and there's a little walkway between that parking lot and St. John's Church, so that's very easy to do. And one announcement, Friday, 5:30, at the corner of 3rd and Walnut, outside Portman's office, again, will be the march to end the camps at the border. We will be there from 5:30 to 6:30, then we will march. The first thing said we're going to Fountain Square and then going down to Christ Church for memorial service. Those of you who don't want to march, you can just go to Christ Church for the memorial service. But this is going to be our gathering. This is happening nationwide. So I'm really encouraging all of you to be there.
Yeah, I sent all the two.
Yes,
This Friday,
This Friday.
and when you stay that couple extra minutes, I'll show you the slides I got from, the 40 or 50 slides that I got from the last march that we had on immigrant children on last, was it last Friday? No, last Tuesday. Wasn't it Tuesday? It was Tuesday, and there were some people here, and I have pictures of them with their stuff. So I have a little slideshow. So, Dave, will you find somebody ready in your table?
And the donation basket is going around the room to help pay for the use of this facility. Any couple dollars that you want to put in there would be greatly appreciated.
Those of you who have bagged lunches and you have things like mustard or mayonnaise or something you're not going to use, instead of throwing it away, just put it on the table here and I'll take it back to Sister Judy. Or perhaps the church wants to keep it for the homeless people. So please don't throw it away.
Other announcements? Here she is, here she is. She wanted me to make this, but I said,
Tonight, there's a meet and greet for Kate Schroeder, who is running for the Democratic District 1 to run against Shabbat, but I think there's other people that are running. But it's tonight at 5:30 to 7 at the Wiedemann Brewery in St. Bernard. It's at 4811 Vine Street. That's tonight, 5:30 to 7.
other announcements? Here we go.
Hi, I just wanted to mention that with the Lights for Liberty, they're requesting, they're requesting that people try to wear a red shirt because it's in honor of the people that died trying to come over.
This Friday?
Well,
But Friday red shirts. I have red shirts for the Reds. I'll do that. We made some pretty neat signs there. I'll show them to you at the end of the meeting. Other announcements? Other announcements? Without further ado, we have Ann Sales here today. She's going to tell you about herself and her training and how she got to us. Oh, wait a second. Here we go, Bill. Here goes Bill.
Just a very quickie. somebody from Greater Cincinnati Dems came to the Michelle Dillingham event, excuse me, can you spare a little social change? I couldn't get in, and I'm trying to find out who that was.
Carol,
Oh,
with a red
great.
shirt.
Because it's a lot like here, if you try to go to the front doors of the church, where the sanctuary is, they don't use those. You know, you have to come around to the side, and if the doors aren't open, you have to ring the bell. It's the same as this.
Oh, I'm sorry, Carol.
So I'm very sorry, Carol. Are you the only one? Somebody else told me that it was somebody named Nancy also.
And there was a man that I ran into, and he's,
Andrew.
yeah, and that he's from Erlanger, and he's the one that asked me if I knew where to get in, so I started going around and trying doors, and I didn't try enough of them.
I'm really sorry. I just wanted to apologize for that. Thank you.
Okay. Other announcements? There was an email that I got to this morning from Martha, and Martha was saying that if she would be interested in having lunch with people after this meeting, if people don't want to pay for a box lunch, and she would be interested in going out to a lunch somewhere. Do you want to say something about that, Carol? Or Martha?
That'll be at the end, that's your thinking, that's what you're thinking through the whole meeting, then we'll talk about it at the end.
Oh.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, that was the whole point of my message, was just that, we don't have to eat lunch here. The church is not requiring us to eat lunch. We can if we want to. So I would just say, we had to eat lunch at Blue Gibbon, because otherwise we couldn't use the room. So let's think about that, and whether we want to go through all the motions of bringing in lunches and all. I mean, I would probably go to lunch at 1:15, 1:30 when we get finished. So just something to talk about.
And I don't want you to miss the Laura Ann Weaver buttons over there. She came to me this week to help me with a broken slider on my porch, and she has fixed my slider, and I have made her buttons. We're talking about the old system here, how to...
You have my campaign?
I have them all there, they're there, and I think, are they all on?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have not declared yet. That's.
Yeah, but I want you to know, I put out the buttons. I had 3 buttons and I put them out. Because Laura Ann Weaver is is from us. Wait a second. One of the people in one of my slides is with the purple hair. There you are. Want to tell us about your candidacy and how that's going?
Sure.
Right behind you.
Welcome to another Tuesday meeting of Greater Cincinnati Democrats. Marlene Brookfield, running for Cincinnati Public School Board this year. It's summer, which means that the campaign season is in full swing, so I'm busier than I've ever been in my entire life. But it's for something that, to me, is really worthwhile. It's wanting to do right by the ones who are going to be our future, investing in that future now, because we all have to live in it. We're going to start canvassing pretty soon, so I'm always on the lookout for volunteers. Got a couple fundraising events that I'm working on, so you'll hear about that, and everyone's invited. But for the time being, come to me with your thoughts, suggestions about what our schools are doing well and what they can be doing better. I need to hear from people. I have contact information. It's my personal number and my email. Get in touch.
You got a union endorsement, didn't you?
Okay.
No.
Katie, you
Yes.
might want to get some more tape for a sign.
Got it.
Yeah. Because I'm interested in getting our speaker with our sign. We've got to find a way to have our speaker next to the sign so that I can get a photo. I do that. You know, I do photographs. I do everything else. Okay, here we are. Without further ado, there we are. I told her 15 minutes and there it was. And sales from the Council on Aging.
Hi, everyone. First of all, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So I'm here today to tell you about Council on Aging and what we do for the community. And I will talk a little bit about, because we do have a program that is funded by a senior services levy here in Hamilton County. I'll tell you more about that as well as part of the presentation. But first I have a few questions and you can just raise your hand. I'd like to get an idea of who I'm talking to. Obviously you're Democrats, but how many of you have ever heard of Council on Aging? That's good. That's good. So hopefully I'll enlighten you with stuff that you don't already know. Now, how many of you have, or somebody that you know has received services through us? Okay, so some. And then how many of you would consider yourself a caregiver to somebody who needs help to stay safe at home and healthy? Okay. All right. Well, great. So hopefully you all learned something new today about Council on Aging from me. And we're going to get started here. Back to that. I just wanted to point out that we are really what we consider the front door to services for seniors, people with disabilities, and caregivers in our community. We not only serve older adults, but we do have programs that help folks with disabilities. Many of our older adults actually have disabilities as well. And then we also very much recognize and want to support caregivers in our community as well. So during this presentation, I'm going to tell you about the state of aging in our region. I think we all know that in general the population in the country is aging, but we're going to get down to the state and local level here with some stats. I'm going to talk about long-term care because ultimately that's what Council on Aging provides to people is long-term care services at home. And then just more about us. So things like our mission, programs and services, and how you might apply, how you might enroll. Somebody might be enrolled in one of our programs if they require help. So first, let's talk about aging in Ohio. Right now, actually, this is more of a national stat first, but for the first time in U.S. history, people age 65 and older outnumber children under the age of 5. And we're just growing older as a population as our baby boomers get older as well. In Ohio, we have 2.5 million people who are over the age of 60. 1 million of those are over 65. And Ohio has the 6th oldest population in the country per state. So we are an older state compared to the rest of the country. Now I have a pop quiz. Everybody loves these. How many Ohioans do you think turn 60 every month? You shout it out.
2,000.
A little more.
5,000.
A little more.
10,000.
10.
I heard 500,000. That's a little too much. It's actually 15,000. So not a couple million, but definitely a significant number. So more drilling down more to our region, you can see here, this is information provided by the Scripps Gerontology Center at Miami University. You can see how the counties in southwestern Ohio are anticipated to age and by 2030. Over on the left, you've got the folks 60 and older in 2010 in these counties. So looking at Hamilton County, 18.6 of our residents were 60 and older in 2010. It's anticipated that by 2030, that's going to be almost 27%. So more than a quarter of our population will be 60 and older in this county. And then you can see the others around us are all in the same boat as well. So in Hamilton County, at that same 2010 census, about 25% of households included somebody 65 and older. 14% of the population was 65 and older. And then more than 33% of those age 65 and older have a disability of some kind. And then 14% of those 65 and older live on an income that is less than 125% of the federal poverty level. So we've got a lot of folks who are older and disabled and lower income who really need help in our community. So Council on Aging, our mission is to enhance lives by assisting people to remain independent through a range of quality services. And we just went through a strategy for our planning of strategy for the next 4 years, and we changed this slightly. It used to be specific to home because what we do is work to keep people at home in general, but we are looking to the future and we're looking to see that there are a lot more needs that the older adults in our area are going to have. So we broaden our mission to really just to help people remain independent. We've been an area agency on aging, or a AAA, since 1974. We serve the 5 counties here in southwestern Ohio, including Hamilton County, as an area agency on aging. We also do have a few state programs that we service other counties up toward Dayton and Lima. We are a nonprofit organization. Other AAAs around the country may be a nonprofit, they may be a governmental organization. We're all different, but the one thing that we have in common is that we are everywhere. We cover the entire country. We are very proud of our high standards and results, ethics, and quality, and we are a Better Business Bureau Torch Award winner. Everything we do, we have an internal quality department. We have quality folks on every program. Just making sure that we're complying with all the guidelines for the programs and that our end user is satisfied with the services they're receiving. A little bit about area agencies on aging, or AAAs. We are part of the national framework. I mentioned that we are everywhere. We cover every part of the country. I often go out and do community outreach events, and people will say, well, I have my dad lives in Virginia, can you help him? We can't because we're not located in that area, but there will be a AAA in that area that can be consulted to see what services are available for his dad. And that information can be found at eldercare.gov, which is right there on the bottom of the slide, and there's also an 800 number. So you can go to that website and do a zip code search, and you can find the AAA in that particular area anywhere in the country. There are 12 of us in Ohio. We happen to be number 1, and we definitely think we are number 1. One of the things that we do as a AAA that's mandated of us is we have an information center. Goes by various names, but ours is either ADRC, or sometimes we call it intake, or we call it the call center. But we have a whole staff that's there just to answer questions about aging services, not necessarily just what we do or our programs, really about anything. We always tell people, if you've got an issue, you don't know where to turn, you don't know what to do, call our 800 number, which I will give you later in the presentation. We are basically the front door to anything related to aging services in the 5-county area. So we are kind of wedged in the middle of this national network of aging services in our country. At the top, you've got the U.S. Administration on Community Living, so that's at the national level. And then you've got regional offices on community living, 10 in the U.S. And then the state units. So for us, we work with the Ohio Department of Aging. They give us our marching orders for a lot of things. We are constantly working with them, in constant contact with them. And then you've got the AAAs, which we are, us and the 11 others in Ohio. And then below us, when we're talking about like the downstream services, we do not provide services directly to folks. We hire the service providers to provide the services. So right below us, you have service providers. These are people that do things like transportation and any service we provide in the home. And then you have, of course, the older adults in our area who we are providing services to. So kind of at a high level here, we do a lot, and I've been at Council on Aging for 2 years, and I don't think I even know the half of it yet. But we administer federal, state, and locally funded programs that, number one, help people stay in their homes and communities. So what the services we offer are what's called long-term, in-home long-term care. So we don't do anything, well, we do have a program in a medical facility, but I'll talk about that later. But ultimately, we want people to be able to remain in their homes as long as possible, not to have to go to a nursing home prematurely. It's what generally people prefer, and it's also much more economical for taxpayers as well. We help create smooth transitions from one care setting to another. So I mentioned that we do have a program within hospitals and other facilities here in Hamilton County. So it's a big issue with people being released from the hospital and not quite knowing or not being comfortable with how to take their medication, or not being able to really, because they don't feel great right away, not being able to cook themselves meals, or maybe they were the caregiver for their spouse and now they're the caregiver who's not feeling well and the spouse needs care. We have programs that help people transition out of the hospital. Hospitals are also being pushed by the government to lower the readmission rates. So this program of ours helps to lower readmission rates and helps people transition smoothly out of hospitals. It also can help unnecessary. Sometimes folks will have to stop at a nursing facility on the way home because they can't feed themselves or take their medication. It can eliminate those types of stops as well. We also have support for caregivers. And like I mentioned before, we have our call center, which all the information that we provide, that we give out is unbiased. So you know when you call us for advice or information, nobody's paying us to give their information out. It's all unbiased information. So just so you can see how we affect the community, kind of on a yearly basis, I'm going to show you some numbers from 2018. So we helped more than 22,000 seniors and people with disabilities remain independent in their homes last year. We had 234 service organizations that we contracted with, and they provided over 1 million hours of in-home care for our clients. Our call center I mentioned, they responded to over 47,000 requests for information and referral. So they are a very, very, very busy group, and they are the most knowledgeable group about everything COA and everything aging in our community. Meals are a big thing. That's one of our big services. We provide meals through some of our programs in which people can enroll, but we also have funding from the federal government to provide meals to folks who are not necessarily enrolled in one of our programs. So those could be in the form of Meals on Wheels, or they could be congregate meals. So like everybody might come together in a place like this and be served a nutritious meal. Oh yes, and we provided 1.4 million of those to folks last year. Transportation is another huge thing. I mean, people have to get to their doctor's appointments. Some people can't drive, don't have a license, don't have a car, are too sick or disabled to drive. So last year we provided over 241,000 transportation trips, both for medical appointments and for senior center activities. Oh, and we also helped 836 hospital nursing home patients transition through our transition program. So successfully transition home from a hospital or from a nursing facility. So I'm going to talk about long-term care because really that's actually, well, I'm going to give you the percentage of us who will need long-term care, but that's one of my quiz questions later. Many of us in our lifetimes will need long-term care of some kind. It may be just for a little while, it may be for an extended period of time. Like I mentioned, Council on Aging is in the business of providing long-term care in-home. So rather than a nursing home, like many people think of long-term care, we can provide services in the home. So kind of the definition of long-term care, it's a range of non-medical services and supports. So things like transportation, meals, home modifications, emergency response buttons, that type of thing, that helps people with their personal care needs. Together, all these services can help people function at home despite having a chronic illness or a disability. Like I mentioned, it may be needed for a few weeks once somebody's out of the hospital, or it may be somebody who needs it for years. We have clients on the spectrum. It may be needed for just a few hours a week. It may be needed for many hours a week. So it just depends. We have somebody who assesses every potential client to see what their needs are, and then that person also sticks with the client throughout their services with us and adjusts programs and services as needed. And of course, it's offered in a variety of settings, including at home. And I did want to point out, all these pictures in the slideshow are of our clients, past and current clients. I get the honor of going out to interview them for things. I work in the communications department, and they're lovely people. That's one of my favorite things about my jobs, next to this, coming out to talk to you all. So who might need long-term care? Most of it, as I mentioned before, is not medical, but rather help with basic activities of daily living, or ADLs. So those are things like bathing and dressing and using the toilet, eating, walking. So really, really basic things that we all need to do to remain at home safely. We've got to feed ourselves, we've got to go to the bathroom. Some of the other supports can be IADLs, or instrumental activities of daily living. They're a little more complex skills, so things like housework and laundry. We do have people that can, through our programs, that come in and help people with like housekeeping and their laundry, things like that. Taking the medication, balancing the checkbook, making sure the bills are paid. Transportation is one as well. I think I have another quiz here. Okay, does anybody have a guess how many people will need long-term care during their lifetime? Percentage?
85.
85? 45? 40? Any other guesses? 90?
95.
It's high. It's not quite 95%. It's 70%, which is, a bit more than half, almost 3/4 of us that are going to need some kind of long-term care in our lifetimes. So, if you knew somebody and you thought, oh gosh, this person did I heard about long-term care, in-home long-term care, and I'm wondering, does this person really need it, and should I call Council on Aging? Here's some of the things you might look for, some kind of signs that somebody might be in a position to need help at home. Of course, they would be unable to do their housekeeping because they had a chronic illness. They would need help bathing or getting dressed, getting to their medical appointments. They can't remember to take their medication. Can't transfer without assistance. So, getting from one place to another at home, out of bed, into the bathroom. They might have dementia or Alzheimer's. We have many, many folks who do have dementia that are on our programs, and their caregivers are getting services from us as well. In the early stages, what I see is that they can stay at home, but then as things progress, potentially they, might have to go live somewhere else. They might be somebody who's a fall risk, so we have the electronic emergency response devices, or they might be unable to safely prepare meals, or even get to a congregate meal site. So it might be somebody, who forgets to, they turn on the gas and then forget about it, or, leave it burning. Or I had a gentleman I interviewed who had severe arthritis in his hands, just couldn't possibly make himself food, so he received Meals on Wheels. This is kind of a snapshot of the type of people we help. Having a gentleman's picture there is, I don't know what point I made that choice, but